All right, here we are on a live stream that I'm just starting. I don't know if this will work. You know, I'm just giving it a go. I should probably turn the air off because that's probably quite loud, isn't it? Give me a second. Give me a second. All right. And I also didn't turn on my lights, which I had intended to do. So, yeah, you know, I'm just kind of like figuring it out. I'm like only 17 minutes late from when I planned to do this. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If you cannot hear me, let me know. Yes, the intro. Thank you for noticing that amazing intro. Cheers from Chile. Holy moly, Chile. Nice to see you, Chile. That's fantastic. I just assumed everybody that watched my show was in America. Massive sound delay. Well, that's a little bit of a problem, isn't it? I don't know how to fix that. So, let's see here. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, anybody else having a sound delay? Anything? Any other problems? Like, that intro was 100. Thanks. So here's the story with that intro. I, for a very, very long time, literally years, have wanted to do like a cartoon about DC and use all the different characters, like Donald Trump and Elizabeth Warren and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and all these guys. It's like watching a kung fu movie. It's a little laggy. Okay, I don't know how to fix that. It's okay. Let me look at the settings real quick here. It doesn't say there's a sync offset, so maybe let's create a sync offset. Let's say. All right, that'll probably make it worse. So let's see. Let's see if that makes it worse. Let me know. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Let's turn on the lights. See if that makes it prettier for everybody. So anyway, I want to do a cartoon for a really long time. Power through it, Mr. Reagan. Okay, I'm going to power through it. I want to do a cartoon for a really long time, and it's very, very expensive. It was almost impossible. Like I worked so hard to make these cartoons, and it never worked. Never worked. And then it's more about the content. I hope it is about the content. I will figure out this lag. I wish I had somebody here that could just grok it, but I don't have anybody here today. What tool are you using? Somebody can Google it for you. Yeah, I grok everything now. I don't even Google anything anymore at all. I grok everything. Is that a verb now? Grok? Can you grok things? My father calls it gork. I don't know why. He can't get it. He can't say grok. I don't know what's up with that. But yeah, if you want to grok it, I'm using OBS. Which is, I think, pretty standard. I've always used OBS for my streams. I don't know why this one's delayed. I have no idea. But anyway, yeah, so I always wanted to do this cartoon. I thought it'd be fun. I had always funny ideas about like different sketches I was going to do for the cartoon. And it was never really feasible. It was always really, really expensive, no matter how I did it. You know, if I did it myself, if I had other people try to do it for me, it was really expensive, it was really time consuming, and I could never quite get it right. I did one little tiny cartoon once. It was okay. Just need to see that pretty face. That's right. Just put on your COVID mask. So I could never get it. I could never quite get it right. The little cartoon that I did, I actually think had a little bit of an impact on politics. And here's why. I don't know if you guys remember this or if anybody's watched my show long enough. But I produced a cartoon a while back that had this, the concept was that Ilhan Omar was like going to like meet the squad, right? AOC and her friends. And she's like delayed. So they go knock on her door and they're like, hey, Ilhan, are you ready to go? And they open up the door and it's Ilhan Omar in like Darth Vader's chamber where he gets the helmet put on him. But she's having her like, I forget what they call that turban thing that the women wear. Anyway, she's having that thing put on her head, and she's like totally bald, right? And so they all scream and slam the door, They're all freaked out by it. And I just thought it was a kind of a dumb joke, right? And I posted that video, and like a few days later, one of the other squad members, the black girl whose name I can't remember, came out and said, I have alopecia, and like, I don't think is it a hijab? I don't know if the rap one's called the hijab. Maybe it is. Anyway, so the black one comes out. She's like, oh, I have alopecia. I'm completely bald, and she like starts going around without a wig on. And I don't know. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think it may have been because I produced that cartoon, and she was like offended by this, and so she came out as being bald, which, like, you know, I actually kind of respect that. I felt really bad, you know, about putting that. I didn't know one of them was bald. Anyway, that was frustrating. Sorry, I'm just watching your comments here. It says try lowering the resolution or frame rate of your video output. Okay, I can try that. I don't know if my frame rate is particularly high, if I'm honest. But I can give it a shot. Let's see here. Well, I don't know if I should be worrying about this right now because I want to get to CPU usage or bit rate is too low. Yeah. I don't know if I can change that stuff right now, actually. Stream to lowering the bit rate. I can't do that while I'm streaming, which is quite sad, actually. But, all right, so the first episode is just going to be terrible. Sorry, guys. Maybe just listen and don't look at my mouth so much. All right. So what do I want to do with this show? Basically, the idea is that we have a daily show every single day. I'm going to try to do a show. And I'm just going to read tweets. I'm just going to read stuff off of X, the news of the day, and just see how we go. Today, I actually gathered some stuff from the weekend. So I don't really know what happened during the day. It seems like a slow news cycle, doesn't it? There's like the Tim Waltz stuff. There's, you know, there's a few things going on, but it doesn't seem like there's a lot going on. So I figured, you know what? Instead of just doing my normal videos, which I will do, and I'm going to be posting some videos, I thought let's just read some stuff off of X. And there's some really funny stuff that I found, but there's also some really serious stuff that maybe you haven't noticed. So we're going to look at some of the stuff and all right, so this is the first bit of news that we've got. This is Piers Morgan. This is actually quite a big story. This is annoying, I would say. Piers Morgan has basically come out in an interview with Tucker Carlson and said that he's okay with the mass immigration because it gives him different kinds of international cuisine.
You're saying that our culture has changed because we've had other cultures come here. Is that your position?
Well, it's not my position. It's a fact, and you just said at the beginning.
I think
so it's better. So what about British culture didn't you like and has been improved by new cultures?
Oh, well,
tell me, what didn't you like before? What are you glad is gone?
Wealthy man leading a very wealthy lifestyle.
Holy shit,
why don't you come with me? Come with me to Brick Lane. Come with me to Brixton. I'll give you a proper meal.
I love it. You and I will go to the tough parts of town and eat street food.
I can give you a great meal.
But are you really saying the food?
I'll take you to the top end of Portobello Market. Right, you come with me. If you want to risk death walking up to Portobello Market, I'll take you and give you some street food and you'll spend £10.
I've been to Portobello Market.
Now, I've been to Portobello Market. I love Portobello Market, actually, on Saturday, in London. But anyway, you know, basically Tucker's making the argument that it's not worth the value, right? There's no return on investment. Bringing in illegal immigrants doesn't have a particularly profound positive impact on Britain. The audio's blasting. Yeah, I tried to lower it. Restart in lower resolution. So I just realized I had a VPN on, So I turned off the VPN, so maybe that'll help. Yeah, I mean, I could restart the stream. I don't know. Everything seems fine. That's the problem. Oh, I'm 60 FPS. I don't know if I can change that. I shouldn't be on 60 FPS. I should be on 24. That's how I do everything. Why do I do 24 FPS, you might ask? Because that is the frame rate that is used by Hollywood for Hollywood films. And I think it looks better. Bill Parker writes, I like how Piers Morgan admitted that it's dangerous. He needs to blink twice if he's under duress. CIA hacking. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, no, I wasn't trying to broadcast in 60 FPS. I don't know what's going on. You're all good. Okay, maybe things have improved. I don't know. I'll still watch everything from your channel. Well, thank you, Andrew Superio 5363. I want to start something. I might start it tomorrow, but in the super chats, with the super chats, I wanted to create a competition in the super chats for the sign off. For the sign off, if you let's see here. Yeah, if you want to send a super chat sign off for me to say, just write sign off, and whoever sends me the most money, I'll use your sign off. You can't use the N word. I'm not going to say it, but I'll say anything else. But you can't use the N word. But pretty much anything else I'll say, right? I'm not going to say anything about, the Jews. I know there's a lot of the stuff that some of the tricksters out there will want me to say. But yeah, if you want me to say something particular in the sign-off, let me know. And yeah, just send me a super chat and we'll see how that goes. Anyway, so everybody's kind of pissed off at Piers Morgan right now for this basically ridiculous position that he's holding. That it's worth having this illegal immigration because of the food. And there's a lot of memes right now going out basically indicating that people are getting assaulted in various ways by illegal immigrants or even legal immigrants, asylees, in asylum seekers in England. And then Piers Morgan is just stuffing his face with curry. There was this one. Am I getting that? Yeah, you guys can see that. Let them eat curry, and it's a sort of, it's not Anne Boleyn. Who was it? Was it Anne Boleyn? Anyway, doesn't matter. And there's Piers Morgan looking, it's the let them eat cake thing, right? Let them eat cake. But there's a ton of memes like this because people are really pissed off. It's a really weird thing. Now, let me just say that from like a long time ago, I think, I would say even back before Donald Trump was elected in 2016, there was this concept in Britain, this idea, like, should we have this mass illegal immigration? Like Douglas Murray has been talking about this for like a decade or longer than that. He wrote this book called The Strange Death of Europe. I highly recommend it. And what was weird was that even back then, leftists in the UK were arguing that it was worth all the problems you have with this mass immigration because you have different kinds of cuisine. This was always the argument. So it's really weird to me that Piers Morgan is coming out with his argument today because it has been ridiculed for years in Britain. And the only thing I can think of is he actually couldn't think of anything that was a benefit. And he didn't think that Tucker Carlson would have heard this argument before because, Tucker Carlson's not British. He hasn't been involved in that discussion. And I forgot to put on my jacket. No, that's okay. You guys can see me without my jacket. It's kind of funny. Anyway, so he puts out this ridiculous argument. And what's crazy about it, it's like he didn't even notice that he was going to get it didn't even occur to him that he was going to get ridiculed again, just like people used to ridicule this argument many, many years ago. And it's like, the only reason you would bring this up, the only reason that you would make this specific argument is because you don't have anything else. Because having a variety of cuisine is not an argument. You can get the recipes for Indian curry without importing millions of Indians. You don't need to do that. That's not a requirement to get those recipes, right? You know what I mean? Like, you can travel to India. You know, if a chef wants to open an Indian restaurant in England, and he's British, he's an English guy, he can go to India, try all the cuisine, you know, find some recipes, you know, find somebody that speaks the Indian language, have them translate some cookbooks, something like that. That can work. You don't necessarily need to bring in, you know, heaps of immigrants from all over the world, because, you know, let me just tell you, not all cuisine from all regions of the world are good. Not every cuisine is good. Like, only certain cuisines become popular, right? Like Thai food's popular, Chinese food's popular, Indian food's popular, but not, like, have you ever been to an Indonesian restaurant? There's a reason for that. Like, I was at a restaurant, what was it? I think I was at a Somalian restaurant or something. I went to a restaurant in LA. Might have been Ethiopia. I can't remember, but it was some African nation, and it was absolutely terrible. I mean, it was terrible. It was like pancakes and some kind of stew, and you're supposed to like dip the pancake in the stew or something, and all of it was just awful. And I've talked to people about this before who are like from the region, and they're like, well, we love it. I'm like, all right, I mean, it's good for you, but like that kind of cuisine is just never going to become popular in Europe or, you know, or America. So you've got these like very specific countries that we like the cuisine of. Like there's a particular dish called, I think it's called tiki masala, that has become like the national dish of England, which I think is a disgrace, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I don't know. He should get all of the flack that he's getting right now, because it's absolutely just disgusting. Let's see here. Reagan, everyone knows Pakistan is well known for its exquisite cuisine. How dare you? That's right. That's right. Let's see here. Sorry, I'm just looking at the chat, and yeah, great. Okay, just making sure everything's working. We are, okay, good point. It's not like, good point. It's not like Indians use magical ingredients to make their food, says Bill Parker 244. He goes, unless we're talking about whatever's on their unwashed hands. That's hilarious. And yeah, anyway, I actually want to show you guys a meme, but I forgot to set that up, so I'm going to have to fix that later. But anyway, let's move on. Well, let me set it up now. Can I set it up now? No, I'll set it up later. Anyway, let's talk about the next story. God, I'm so bad at this. I am like the worst streamer of all time. But anyway, let's move on to the next story. All right, so this is a bit off of Fox News, 32 seconds long. So let's just listen to this. This is about
to anyone
immigration.
To allow them entry into our country and to all of the benefits that offers. We don't have any obligation to do that. And quite frankly, it's asinine that we can't have a realistic policy conversation about how certain cultures are quite literally incompatible with ours. It should be okay to say that. And more importantly, it should be okay to base our immigration policy on that. So I'm glad that President Trump is taking some steps in that direction, because it is a long time coming.
Indeed. All right, well, on to the first.
We do not have
I love this. I love this, because I've been trying to say this for years. For years. You have to separate out the concept of race and culture. Racism is not a smart idea. I mean, it doesn't really matter what race you are and what race you are criticizing, or what race you're considering to be superior or inferior or whatever. Racism doesn't really make any sense. But cultural criticism is actually very, very important. So I've written here, responding to what this woman said, and I wrote, I just quoted her, and I wrote, "This is true. We associate race with culture, so cultural racism is often unfairly perceived as racist, but is absolutely necessary. Let them call us racist. It's fine." And this is a point that that Gutfeld made on the 5 today. He was like, Trump's a great president because he doesn't care that people call him racist. And I just love that. And I thought, you know what? That is absolutely right. Donald Trump does not care that people call him racist. And it allows him to do things that a lot of other presidents have been unable or unwilling to do. And it freezes up a lot of people. It freezes up people in corporations. It freezes up people in just like normal conversation in normal life, at the dinner table. It's bizarre the kinds of things that you can say that will trigger somebody to respond, that's racist. That's a racist thing to say. Like, so a lot of on my show, a lot of the things that I've tried to promote is like a more free discussion about race, a more free discussion about, criticizing other cultures, because you really just cannot bring in just anyone from any culture and expect it to work out really, really well here in America or in Europe. Toasted7135 gave me $2 and wrote, "Israel and JQ really destroy many people's minds." I don't really know what JQ means, and I don't really know what you mean by Israel. For some reason, the topic of Israel tends to destroy people's minds. People get very obsessed with the topic of Israel. It's not really my issue, so I don't really discuss it on the show because it does have this ability, kind of almost like magical ability to like divide people. Not just like Democrats versus Republicans, like even within the conservative universe that we have here in America, people get really passionately anti-Israel or pro-Israel. People always say that, if you criticize Israel, it's anti-Semitic. I don't think that's true. Sometimes it is true, of course. but I think that's legitimate. You should be able to criticize Israel. There's a lot of stuff to criticize there. It's not really I'm not really that passionate about it. Israel's an ally. I think it's important that we maintain a positive relationship with them, but nobody's. Toasted7135, give me another $2 in order to clarify. So guys, when you send me super chats, make sure they're very unclear, so I have to be confused, and they have to send me another super chat to clarify. That's how I make the real money. Another $2, and he writes, Israel turned Tucker into a pro-third worlder. We're gonna get into that. You're getting a little bit ahead of me there, Toasted. But yeah, for sure. It's super polarizing. It just makes people nuts. I actually have multiple very good friends who have become very anti-Israel, like hardcore anti-Israel, and they send me videos and memes and stuff, and I'm just like, Lou Schobel writes, they are not an ally at all, which is interesting because Schobel sounds like a Jewish name to me, but maybe it isn't. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not really good at that name guessing. Where are you from business? So let's have a look here at the next story. So this is not a story. I just thought this was funny. Somebody just posted, "Imagine a world without Muslims." And I just thought, you know what? That's actually a fairly interesting thought experiment. Even though I'm sure like a lot of people out there are going to be like, that's racist, how dare you? You know what I mean? I think it's a very fair thought experiment. And it's not just Muslims. You should imagine a world without every race, without every culture, and think, okay, what if the world existed without these people, right? How would it go? How would the world be? Would it be better or would it be worse? And then you got to figure out, okay, so if these people didn't exist, and it would be better, then there's obviously something wrong there. There's something wrong with the culture. There's something wrong with, the mentality of the people that come from that group for whatever reason, right? So like everybody hates white people, right? Like everybody on the left, they hate white people. They hate white people. And you got to ask yourself, imagine a world without white people. What would the world look like? And of course, leftists would be like, well, there would be no colonization. Everything would be amazing. Yeah, except you wouldn't have refrigeration. You wouldn't have airplanes. You wouldn't have, you wouldn't have the automobile. You wouldn't have the combustion engine. You wouldn't have really almost any, modern engineering. You wouldn't have hardly anything. I always say, well, the East Asians may have stepped up if the white people hadn't existed. That's what I always throw out there. But yeah, I'm not really fond of, like, if I had to snap my fingers Thanos style and make a particular group disappear, I'm not sure there's any cultural or ethnic group that I would actually want to disappear from the earth. I think I'd want them all to exist. I like the diversity that we have in the world. I guess I'm a bit of a leftist that way. But as the leftists would think. No, I think most conservatives, most Americans, appreciate ethnic diversity. We just think some cultures are incompatible, which I think is a totally legitimate position to have. Toasted comes in again. I like that Toasted is like my #1 guy here. With $2, he's come out on top every single time. Let's see here. He writes, how many of those white people are Jewish, though? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean. Like, if I imagine all the white people in the world disappearing? I don't know. I mean, you know what's funny about the Jewish thing? Some Jewish people say that they're not white. They claim to not be white. And I'm like, well, what are you? I don't know. I read an article once where they had done some kind of genetic testing on, like, what they call Ashkenazi Jews, which are like the white European Jews that you see. And the study had suggested that basically almost all Ashkenazi Jews are like 97.9% German, which is really crazy. So what they think happened was some people came over from Israel and, married into, the German population and had, half German, half Jewish kids. And then throughout the years, the amount of Israeli in them was reduced so significantly that it's almost undetectable now for most, Ashkenazi Jews, that sort of like Middle Eastern heritage. But there's another guy that I talked to in LA who is Jewish, weirdly, Jewish guy. And his theory is that during the Middle Ages, because they had usury laws, only Jewish men were allowed to do banking. So if you wanted to get into the very lucrative industry of banking, you had to convert to Judaism. So you had, during the Middle Ages, a lot of just white Europeans converting to Judaism, not because they actually believed in the faith, but because they wanted to do a little banking. And I can't imagine that those particular Jews were good people, right? There was always some kind of like anti-Semitic hatred throughout Europe over the centuries. I think some of that might have come not from a hatred of Jews specifically, but of the Christians who converted for the banking. Because if you're the kind of person that would like abandon your faith in order to get into a particular profession, you're probably not a very good person. So those guys in particular were probably not particularly nice. Let's see, Toasted writes, again, another super chat, he writes, I mean, those creations you claim white people made. How many creations of white people are Jewish? I haven't actually done any research into that. I'm sure there are some pretty spectacular inventions from Jewish people. I don't think it's a huge percentage, though. I'm just thinking through, like, automobile German. The glider was German before the Wright brothers. I think the Wright brothers were English, Christians, English heritage. Stephen Thompson writes, what do you like about the Botswanian people? I don't know anything about the Botswanian people. I'm sure they're absolutely lovely. All right, let's go on to the next story. But I do like this thought experiment. The thought experiment of extract a particular group of people, in the world. It's not something I particularly want to go through here because I don't have too much time. We only got 15 minutes left. I'll go a little bit over because I started really, really late. So let's go a half an hour now. But I want to keep it to an hour, this show. Am I still delayed? Is my audio still delayed? I'm curious. All right, now let's, okay. I don't know how well you guys can see this image, but this is Cory Booker and Cory Booker's new wife. Yeah. Your audio is fine. Okay, the audio is fine. Maybe it was the VPN. Okay, so I just got to remember that VPN's got to be turned off before I start the show. God, I wish I had a producer. It'd make life so much easier. I got to hire somebody. All right. So this is from Roger Stone. He's gone ahead and posted this image. And if you look at this woman who is, you know, Cory Booker married. I don't know if I can't really zoom in here. But if you look at this woman, she kind of looks exactly like Cory Booker. It's really weird, right? I mean, it's like the same face. It's very strange. You know, they do have those couples that are like the brother-sister couples. So this is not the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But it's definitely disconcerting. You know, it's always disconcerting, the brother-sister couples. Roger Stone writes, please, this is fooling no one. Booker is running for president, but but his record of corruption as mayor of Newark will bring him down. Stay tuned. So that's kind of like what people are saying on X, is that this whirlwind love story between Cory Booker and this woman, Alexis Lewis, it's like staged, right? They think Cory Booker's gay and he's going to run for president, but they don't think that he can win as a gay man running for president. So they've given him this fake wife. Like if you go through the comments, they'll have this stuff. So a beard, I don't know if you're aware of this, but a beard in like gay slang is like a gay guy's fake girlfriend to take to his parents so that his parents don't know he's gay or whatever. They call the girlfriend the beard. So we've gone Beard Identification Guide, Don Jr., J.D. Vance, Brick Suit, who I don't know who that is, but fantastic, and Cory Booker, and that's his wife. Which, you know, there's some funny there's some funny stuff in here. That's pretty cruel. Okay, I don't. Good Lord. Yeah, people are being pretty mean about it, I would say. I don't know. Maybe it's a fake wife. Maybe it's a real wife. I like to give him the benefit of the doubt, even though he's he is Spartacus after all. All right, let's move on from that. Let me check the chat real quick. I wasn't paying attention there. Anybody, anything interesting to say about Cory Booker? No, nobody seems to care. All right, we'll move on. Oh, you know what we have to look at that I forgot about? I actually forgot about this. I've done a poll. So let's go ahead and look at, I don't know if this is going to become a regular thing on the show, but I put up this poll. What do we call it? The worst Democrat in the world, we're calling this. I should have like a little thing that comes up, talk about the worst Democrat in the world. But here's the poll. This is pretty crazy. Oh man, I haven't even looked at these results. All right, so James Wood started this because he basically wrote that he believes there's 5 worst Democrats. He listed them. And his 5 worst were Gavin Newsom, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Ilhan Omar, and Tim Walz was the 5th one. But in a poll on X, you can only put 4 people. So I knocked off Tim Walz. Sorry, Tim Walz, so you didn't get in here. But this is the crazy thing. I mean, it's like neck and neck. It is really so close. You guys hate these people equally. Like, conservatives really despise, because I mean the only people that really follow me on X are conservatives, really absolutely despise Gavin Newsom, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, and Ilhan Omar almost exactly equally. I mean, it's so dang close. It's been shifting back and forth. So, like, I can't even call it, if I'm honest. Right now it says Adam Schiff. So I guess we got to give it to Adam Schiff. Congratulations, Adam Schiff. You are the most despised Democrat in the world. But man, it's so close. I mean, if I were to say, I would say Nancy Pelosi. I hate Nancy Pelosi. I think she is pure evil. But yeah, man, that's close. So anyway, I don't want to say it's not interesting, because it is interesting, but it's just not like there's no clear-cut winner, which I think is really bizarre. It's just like they're all so bad. Like, what can you do? You just kind of like 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%, pretty much. Not quite, but pretty close. Pretty close. I think Gavin Newsom's going to start to become the person that we're going to focus attention on in the next year or so, because I think he's going to run for president, and I think he's probably going to get the nomination. So let's see how that goes. What do you guys think? Who's going to be nominated? I honestly can't think of anybody that the Democrats would choose instead of Gavin Newsom. But let's look at the next story. I left out AOC. I didn't really leave out AOC. I only had 4 slots. So that's the only reason. But I'll do another poll later, and we'll put different names in. All right, let's look at this next story. Okay, this is not a story. This is not a story. This girl just came out
Can someone explain
and
to
was
me
complaining
why
because
handsome
I don't know, guys don't
men
like her.
and some guys never, literally never looking at me, while ugly, old, horrible-looking men always look at me like I'm a meat. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way how I look. I mean, I don't look like a whore. I don't understand what's wrong with me. Why handsome guys never looking at me? I don't understand what's wrong with me. Why handsome guys never looking at me?
Okay, she's an attractive girl. She's cute. Some people are saying it's her haircut. I don't think her haircut is bad. I think it's just pulled back, to be honest. But let's be honest. Guys are kind of scared at looking at pretty girls for a couple of reasons. One, they don't want to get rejected, and 2, they're afraid of being like yelled at and shamed and all this kind of thing. So, yeah, younger guys, they don't really look at girls anymore. Old guys, they don't care, right? I'm an old guy. I don't care. I'll look at you. If you're a hot girl, I will look at you. I don't care. But this guy had some of the best advice that I've ever seen in my life. This guy, Lost Patriot Dad, he writes, always marry an ugly woman because a beautiful one will leave you. An ugly one will leave you too, but you won't care as much. I just love that punchline. I thought that was genius. So anyway, I just want to share that little bit of advice with you guys in case any of you have kids or grandkids, or you yourself are a single man looking to marry. This is not advice I will be following. Unfortunately, I'm going to take the more difficult route for sure. All right, but then Debbie Wasserman Schultz is in the news. Now this is okay. I don't know what even to say about this. She's just annoying all the time. Anytime Debbie Wasserman Schultz goes on the news, she annoys me. She always says stupid stuff. In this particular case, she says troops shouldn't have been deployed to make the nation's capital safe in the first place. You know, she's saying, oh, you know, this is terrible that Donald Trump sent National Guard to the Capitol to protect people and all this, you know, after these 2 National Guardsmen were shot. And she's basically saying, like, this is all Trump's fault. But here's the thing. So she's in this interview talking to this woman, and it reminded me of another interview that she had recently here. She always looks so great in her photos, right? But here's the thing. I know we shouldn't ridicule people's looks, but this was just too funny. This was just quite possibly the funniest thing I've seen in a very, very long time. So let's have a look. This comment. Do you guys see it? Do you see it? Okay, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the hair. The woman has hair that looks like 2 pieces of dried top ramen. Oh my gosh, it just, or I guess like 1 large blanket of ramen. Like, why does she do her hair like that? It's just the weirdest thing. And it's been like that for like decades. She just has the same hairstyle. Anyway, let's get off of that. That's stupid. All right, let's get on to the next story here. Sebastian Gorka. You guys know Sebastian Gorka. He's my good buddy. Love this guy. So I like to put him, you know, on my show as much as I can. Because he's one of the only people I like in the world. Are you one of these guys? I feel like conservatives are like this. We pretty much hate everyone, but then we reserve a special place in our heart for like 5 people that we like. And that's it. You know, unfortunately, I have a lot of really great people because I have a show, and I get amazing comments in the comments section, and I have to respond to all you guys. So I have this massive pool of people who I actually like, but we don't interact on like a personal one-on-one basis so much. So so I don't get to enjoy your company in real life. But yeah, in my real life, there's only like a handful of people that I actually enjoy the company of, and Sebastian Gorka is one of those guys. Actually, a genuinely good man, which is very rare in this world, I find. But anyway, Chuck Todd came out, and he writes just this stupid thing. So this is, this guy reported that President Trump promises to use his DOJ to prosecute former President Joe Biden for public statements not given under oath. It says here, Joe Biden was not involved in the AutoPen process, and if he says he was, he'll be brought up on charges of perjury. Okay. So then Chuck Todd writes, for what it's worth, Trump's words are legally meaningless. He has to sign individual executive orders to cancel whatever order he claims is not legal. Let's see if this White House makes an actual effort to do this, or if this is just meaningless rhetoric junk to spin up a fake holiday news cycle. Okay, Chuck Todd. Always been a kind of piece of garbage. But then the reason I want to read this is because people are citing Sebastian Gorka's response here as one of the greatest takedowns in human history. So let's read. He writes, God, I wish I could do it in the Sebastian Gorka voice, right? He writes, you really are a clinical imbecile, Chuck Todd. Presidential statements, even simple vocal ones, have administrative and authoritative weight. Just look up the word VOCO, V-O-C-O, which I did look up, by the way. And then he writes, but you won't, because you're a hack who could commit suicide by jumping off your ego onto your IQ. Cretin. And I just love that. Because you're a hack who could commit suicide by jumping off your ego onto your IQ. Truly one of the best takedowns in human history. But then we've got this, which is just, and this is where we start talking about how some of these YouTubers and some of these alternative media personalities have gone a little crazy on the subject of Israel and some other topics as well, but in particular on Israel. Let's have a listen to this.
Cornell that Tucker had on his show, and he basically said we should have sided with Hitler. And he's a conservative, supposedly, Tucker is, but I thought the first thing that came in my mind was we should have sided with Hitler, and therefore we just gratuitously declared war on Hitler. He declared war on us. And
or worse than that, the amateur historian who's really, an anti-Semite who's saying, well, on Tucker's show, the real villain of World War II is Churchill. And then Carlson just, sagely nods that, oh, yes, the man who actually built the gas chambers and who invaded Poland and had a secret pact with Stalin, he's the victim. But the man who helped save Western civilization is the bad guy. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened to these. Just listening to the latest one, though, David Cullum, in 30 seconds, he said three things that were completely demonstrably untrue. He said, well, there's 20,000 POWs that we didn't get back from Russia. Well, Russia liberated German camps. They had POWs. They negotiated with us. We were in a bad position because we had freed some Russians in POW camps, and they were going to be killed or worked to death if they went back to Stalin. And Stalin for a little bit said, well, we'll trade yours if you trade. And we were in a dilemma, but ultimately almost all of them we know were given back. And he said 20,000 would die. That's not true. He said that George Patton wanted to join Hitler and fight the Soviets. George Patton, who was suffering from exhaustion as a proconsul of Bavaria, didn't say he wanted, after Hitler was dead.
He said that the Soviets are a threat after the victory.
After the victory, and he said, we have the troops here. At some point, we're going to have to fight them. We might use retired German troops. He did not say that he wanted. He called what he said about Hitler, I personally plan to get to Berlin and hang that paper son of a... And the other thing that he said that we could have avoided the Holocaust by joining with Hitler. The whole hunger plan was predetermined. He had killed 50,000 Germans who were had mental defectiveness. When he got into Poland, with 7,000 Jews were rounded up in 3 weeks. So it's almost a mythical effort, and all these people that I knew very well, and you knew them, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. I don't quite understand what the the catalyst right now.
I don't have a univalent explanation for all of it, but I think there's two things that are coming together in a disturbing fashion. Number one, clickbait, right? It's not about the truth. It's about I must have the maximal views. I must have the most advertising on YouTube or what have you. So you've got to. It's not the truth that drives. It's the outrage.
Sensational, yes.
And the second thing is combined with the fact that there is no, that comedian who keeps going on Joe Rogan, who debated the great Douglas Murray,
yes.
that all experts are wrong. There is no such thing as expertise, which means nobody reads a book, nobody reads Mein Kampf, nobody listens to the transcripts of Hitler's speeches where he's railing against the Jews for 7 years. And then because you're not allowed, because some experts like Fauci lied, therefore all experts are liars, which brings us to what a friend of mine has called the woke right. That the right elements of it now see themselves as victims because of COVID or what have you, which leads to what? Just as much an epistemological argument that truth doesn't exist because there is no truth. They're all lying to you. From the WMDs in Gulf One to COVID, this is why the work of people like yourself is so important, because what do we stand for? Objective truth is real. Read a book and search for the truth, not for clicks.
Sammy and I did a little bit.
Yeah. And, okay, so here's the thing about this. I absolutely loved what he said here. This is obviously why I put it on the show. I have almost exactly the same argument when it comes to the reason that people are obsessed with, this kind of sensationalism. This sensationalism with these, alternative media types. I have a theory that ever since Trump was elected again in 2024, we've kind of been a little bit rudderless, those of us on social media on the right. And you can see it with this sensationalized stuff, these weird ideas that people are putting out. Especially Candace Owens. I don't want to I don't watch Candace Owens, so I don't know all the details of all the stuff that she's said. I've just seen the little clips, so I don't really want to talk too much about what she's saying. But the little clips I've seen of her, some of the stuff she said is pretty crazy. And I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, why is she saying this stuff? And I can't help but to think that, some of it has to do with, the paranoia that existed during the, during the Biden years. They were really targeting conservatives hardcore. So I think a lot of conservatives started to become a little bit scared of the deep state. Even myself. I started to think, if they fix the election and Kamala Harris gets in, they're going to control a lot more this time around because they're going to realize they've got total control of everything. So we started to really worry about what's going to happen. And then Trump won, and a lot of us who were kind of paranoid sighed with relief, but then we didn't really know where to turn. What do we do now? Because now it was kind of it was on all of us to get Trump in office. Then Trump's in office. He's got this great team around him. They're blowing up the drug boats. They're signing peace deals around the world. They're improving the economy. They're doing all these amazing things. The speech is not linked to my movements. Yeah, I know. This is a problem. I'm going to fix it for the next one. I promise. I don't know. Let me just tell you guys real quick. I do things without total preparation sometimes because I have a theory that sometimes it's better to do than to plan. You can plan all you want, stuff's going to go wrong. So it's better to just get out there and do stuff. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, yeah, so a lot of people are just kind of searching for something, anything they can, grasping at straws to try to find something to get clicks for people to watch them, because going after the left like we were doing during the campaign, it's just not as provocative as it used to be. People don't care as much because Trump's already in office. It's like, we had this job to do, which is to get Trump and the administration in office. Now they're doing all these awesome things, and the kind of burden is on them now. It's on Trump and it's on the administration to make America great again. We gave them the opportunity, now they've got to do it. That doesn't mean that our job goes away, that we have nothing to say. There's still a lot of stuff to say, a lot of stuff to debate about. But yeah, I do think that a lot of people are saying a lot of stuff they don't necessarily believe now because they want to get clicks. Because now, let me just tell you, when I started my show on YouTube, there was a major gap in the market for conservatives on YouTube. There was like 4 guys, basically. And they were all super well established, right? I was kind of like in the second wave of YouTubers that came along after like Ben Shapiro and Steven Crowder and all those guys. I came along in like the second wave, and unfortunately when I came along it was like adpocalypse and they censored us, and we kind of got a raw deal with that. That's why my channel never really blew up in the way that it should have, and why I think I was shadow banned for a long time. I think I probably still am shadow banned, but anyway, that's beside the point. Anyway, we got a raw deal, but there was a gap in the market, and it made it so that I think people that weren't necessarily that good, probably like me, could actually succeed as a YouTuber back then, because it just was like, you know, there just wasn't a lot of people out there. Now the market is absolutely saturated. There are hundreds of options for you to watch conservatives on YouTube. So, you know, a lot of the legacy guys, a lot of the established guys, they're sitting there and they're kind of worried, like, oh man, are people going to keep watching me, or are they going to tune out unless I have something really provocative and interesting to say? And so I think it's kind of making them crazy. So I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword, getting Trump into office, because I think it's kind of driven a lot of people into this, into like crazy town a little bit. You know, I can't talk about all the YouTubers out there that, you know, there's a million reasons why people might say provocative, crazy stuff, but I think that's what's going on. Anyway, so I'm reading some of your comments. The other thing about what Sebastian Gorka said is something I kind of disagree with, actually. He starts talking about the woke right. And although what he's talking about I do believe exists, what I don't agree with is using the term woke to describe the right, even a segment of the right we disagree with. I don't like this for 2 reasons. One, in my mind, the word woke is very specific, right? It's very specifically talking about this mentality of like, what you would call postmodernist leftists, who believe in this idea that essentially straight white men are the cause of all the problems of the world. We created all these social constructs in order to maintain power structures where white men were at the top and everybody else was at the bottom. And that is the concept of woke. And he's talking about epistemological arguments about, you know, a victim group and an oppressor group and all this kind of stuff. But like, if you're going to blame essentially the Jews in Israel for everything that goes wrong in the world, that's something that existed a long time before the woke left. That's just, you know, a sort of standard historical anti-Semitism. I know there's probably some people out there going, yeah, but is there some truth in it? Okay, whether or not you believe there's truth in that, it's irrelevant. The point is there's a term for that. We don't need to call this the woke right. I think we should come up, if we want to categorize, and I would also say that, like, I'm not sure that everyone that is in this group that's currently being referred to as the woke left, I'm not sure they all believe exactly the same thing. I don't think that they have a cohesive philosophical view of their politics. So I don't know if it's yet appropriate to label them something, but it's always good to label a group something, because then you can talk about that group more easily, right? So this is something that James Lindsay coined, right? The woke right. And I do feel like James Lindsay does sometimes try to say things literally just for clicks. I mean, he, like, some of the stuff he posts on X is just like, man, what are you doing? He likes to cause fights with other conservatives, and that's kind of his his big thing at the moment. I don't know why he does that. But anyway, let me move on to the next story. I've got another story, guys. There's no super chats. I want to communicate with you guys, and it's difficult. You don't have to send me a lot. Just send me a couple bucks, and I'll read your super chat. Oh, man. This is Bono. Here's the thing. I love you too. And I love you too. And I love Bono. I actually like Bono. I think his heart is in the right place. This is the problem that I have with some leftists, is that they're not, like, there are some leftists who are not necessarily bad people. They really just are gullible. You know, there's 5 classes of people, broadly speaking, that the left has for decades claimed are the oppressed classes, the victim groups, right? It's women, it's black people, it's immigrants, it's LGBTQ, and it is Muslims. These are the 5 groups, and they've changed sort of over time. I think at one point Latinos was in there. They've kind of moved along, you know, not so much Latinos anymore. Now it's just immigrants in general. I don't think Muslims used to be on there, but now Muslims are on there. So they got these 5 groups that are like, these are the oppressed minorities in America. These are the marginalized people. These are the people that we have to help. And who are the villains? Well, it's always the same group, isn't it? It's the straight white Christian men. And, you know, sometimes it's one of those categories. It's straight people, or, well, not usually straight people. It's usually Christians, or it's, you know, white people, or it's men, or it's straight men, or it's Christian men, or it's Christian white people. You know, it's some kind of combination of straight white Christian men always. We're always the bad guys. And for some reason, the vast majority of people that they target with this victim group BS, and I'm doing a video about this that's going to come out pretty soon. And the concept of the video is, like, there are actual victims in the world, and I'm talking about, like, the murders of Christians specifically in Nigeria, but all over the world. Christians are the #1 religious group in the world that is targeted and murdered every single year. And nobody talks about that. They want to keep their focus on these very specific victim groups because it's very easy. It's like you don't have to think about it. And you can go to your little dinner parties with your little liberal friends, and you can talk about all the poor gay people or the poor black people or whatever, and everybody's sort of on the same page, and you never have to change your views because you guys are, like, locked into this idea, these are the victims and these are the bad guys. And there's never this thought that, like, maybe we should actually do some research and figure out who the real victims in this world are, and who we should really help with charity, and who we should really promote and talk about and try to elevate and all this kind of thing. But usually it's not men that are targeted with this. Most of the leftist men that I have met are leftists because they're trying to get girls, essentially. But with Bono,
we know
it seems like he's a true
what
believer.
fascism looks like. It was around the corner, and it will be again. This relationship between Europe and America will never be the same again. What is irrational is doing it without warning, without giving people a chance to prepare, to rip these life support systems out of the walls of so many people's lives. We're all trying to do calculations. Bill Gates says 1 million children will die. Who would want that on their conscience? I mean, cutting jobs, or whatever Doge does, job losses, these are not job losses. These are life losses. These are children, these are most, I know a lot of these countries where most affected. For the ones that are grateful to be a part of that America that's so, that it's not just a mythic America, it's the reality of America that saved us, saved Europe. We know.
So this is my response to him. I wrote, so basically what he's trying to say here is, you helped people so much, America, USAID and the American government and the American people and the American taxpayer, and you guys help people so much in this world that now they expect to be helped and you have to help them. Now you can't stop. You're not allowed to stop anymore. You help them, with billions of dollars. Now you're not allowed to stop, so you have to continue sending billions. Now, I also wrote, never mind that maybe 10% of USAID money was actually used effectively to help people. Never mind that much of the money was used for leftist indoctrination. That is true. Never mind that the so-called death numbers due to USAID cuts are totally bogus, invented to make Trump look like a monster. So the death numbers, let me tell you how they calculate the death numbers of, like, they cut USAID, now all these millions of people have died. Oh, we do have a super chat. I complained that nobody was sending me super chats, and Jesus Saved Me sent me a super chat, which is great because, you know, as a Christian man, I like to see that as the name of your account. Let's see here. Elizabeth for Truth. Okay, I appreciate that. She writes, and the way your mouth and your movements are reminds me of a spaghetti western, but that's okay because I love your show. Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do apologize for the weird delayed audio. I don't know what's going on. I will try to fix it before tomorrow because I'm going to start doing this every single day. Anyway, okay, so the way they calculate these numbers of people who have died because of the USAID aid cuts is when USAID was, you know, in its prime and sending money out all over the world, there were organizations that attempted to justify. Oh, sorry, I played the audio, but I put it on the wrong thing. Okay, let me switch that back. All right, sorry about that. So this is Bono here, and then this is my thing that I'm reading. God, I'm so bad at live streaming, guys. Really, I do need a producer. Maybe I'll get one tomorrow. Let's see. I don't know if I can get one in that amount of time. But anyway, so the way they calculate it is they go. So back when it was popular, or when it was, you know, sending out billions of money all over the world, you know, they wanted more. They wanted to send more money. They wanted to talk about how USAID and all these agencies and all these NGOs and all these, you know, everything that was funneling money to these third world countries and everything were doing all these great things, you know. So they did these calculations. They made these estimates. And I have no idea how they made these estimates, but I'm going to guess they were totally bogus. Because the whole idea was just to promote that, you know, USAID money and all these NGOs were saving lives. They were doing all this great work around the world. So they made up these numbers. They basically just made up a bunch of numbers, and they said, this is how many lives all this USAID money is saving every year, right? And so in order to calculate the number of people who died, all they did is take this bogus number, these bogus numbers of estimates that they used to sort of promote USAID, this sort of speculative idea about how many lives were saved. And then they just applied it to, okay, Donald Trump cut USAID, so that's how many lives were not saved, right? And so they just inverted it. And they say, this is how many people we think have died because Donald Trump cut USAID. They have no idea if anybody actually died. They have no idea whether USAID ever saved anybody's life. Now, did it? Probably. I mean, it probably helped nourish somebody somewhere at some point. But the reality is the vast majority of money was just wasted. It just got absorbed into the bureaucracy. Like, none of that money actually, an infinitesimal amount of that money actually went out to help people, to actually help people. It's just absurd. Most people can survive without aid money from the US government. And in fact, I looked into this, and most countries in Africa have become so reliant on American aid that they cannot improve. They cannot improve quality of life. They cannot improve economically because they're just totally reliant on US aid money. There's two countries in Africa that have been moderate success stories, and neither of them have taken US aid money. They just have done it on their own. If we cut off aid to Africa, there is a much higher chance that they're going to succeed than if we continue to keep them suckling at the teat of the American taxpayer. Okay, moving on to the next story. Okay, this isn't, I'm almost done here, so let's just wrap it up. But this is not a political story, but it's just an interesting thought. Elon Musk just put out a tweet, and he wrote, Optimus, which is his robot that he's created, will be the von Neumann probe. Now, what is the von Neumann probe? So I had to look that up because I had no idea. It's something out of sci-fi. basically the idea is that it's a self-replicating robot that goes out into the universe and just finds planets that have the resources needed to build more robots, and therefore it can self-replicate. So I wrote, this is a very interesting proposition. Humans will not explore or colonize space as we speculated in Star Trek. Rather, we will send self-replicating robots with advanced AI brains to do it. The robots will tell us where to go and prepare everything for our arrival. It is kind of sad to think that the age of the human explorer is truly at an end. It's just an interesting idea, you know. I just think it's fascinating that, like, because a lot of space travel is very, very difficult for humans. You know, you're going to be in that space capsule for whatever it is, like 50 years to get to Mars. That is a hell of a sacrifice, you know what I mean? So you can't return. You're going to die there, you know. So if we could send these robots instead, that would actually be more efficient and rational. And then if they can actually replicate themselves on other planets, you know, not using resources here on Earth, but using the resources of those planets, if we send all the equipment needed to produce a robot, and then the robots themselves, you know, mine the ore that's needed, and then put it through all the processes, yeah, okay. You're going to be, I mean, to me it seems pretty crazy that you could produce everything needed to produce a robot. That's probably like a long way down the line, you know what I mean? That's sort of the miracle of capitalism, is that you can get, you know, 1,000 different companies all over the world, getting resources from all over the world, and putting them together to create one simple object, you know, whatever it might be, and something that no one human could do on their own. So to create something like Optimus, which is an incredible feat in itself, and then just have Optimus do all the processes that it takes to create itself again on its own, it seems like a Herculean task. I don't know how near that is in the future, but that does seem like the future of space travel, which is a bit sad, but also a bit fascinating. All right, the final two stories here. Let's have a look. Okay, this was Donald Trump's Thanksgiving message. This is I don't know if you guys read this. This is, I mean, it's pretty long, but I'll go ahead and read it. He writes, a very happy Thanksgiving. No, I'm not going to do an impression. I can't do a Trump impression. A very happy Thanksgiving salutation to all of our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved up, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world. I don't think he's necessarily talking about Trump supporters. I think he's primarily talking about leftists here, but okay, let's keep reading. For being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. The official United States foreign policy stands at 53, policy, I write. Okay, let me correct that. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people, according to the census. I think that's what he means by census in parentheses. Anyway, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, and drug cartels. They and their children are supported through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. They put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. A migrant earning $30,000 with a green card will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits from their family. And I'm actually doing a video about this, about the Somalis around the world and exactly what cost they have in the Netherlands. A study has been done. And if you want to get ahead of me, you can look that up. But just wait for the video. It's pretty good. All right. Will get roughly $50,000 in yearly benefits for their family. How crazy is that? A real migrant population... Okay, sorry. The real migrant population is much higher. So not according to the census. He thinks there's many, many more. He goes, this refugee burden is the leading cause of social dysfunction in America. Something that did not exist after World War II. And let me just point out real quick that what he's saying is absolutely true. Immigrants today are not the same as immigrants 100 years ago. People like to go, we're a nation of immigrants. we are a nation of immigrants. Yeah, but the immigrants that came here that created America from Europe, okay, these guys didn't have any government welfare to rely on if things went bad. If things went bad, they starved to death and died. The immigrants that came to America that built this nation from Europe were coming here at great risk to their own lives. They came here sacrificing the safety of the homes they had in Europe to come here to try to build a better life, but also they knew that they were coming with this great risk. They weren't drawn to America because of the promise of, welfare and food stamps. They were coming to America for the promise of, this adventure, this ability to sort of do something with my life that I didn't have the opportunity to do in Europe. But I also knew that if I failed, I risked death. Immigrants today do not risk anything. They come here and they're given a hotel, and they're given food stamps, and they're given free everything. They're given a cell phone in some cases. And it's like, why are we just opening our wallets to every single person in the world? Of course everybody's going to come. A lot of people go, all right, you can have an immigration policy, a generous immigration policy, but you have to say you get nothing from the federal government. You get nothing from the state government. You get no public services at all for free. If you come to America, you have to survive on your own. We provide you with absolutely nothing. If we can go back to that kind of model, then I think we'd probably be better off. Also, new citizens to America, a lot of people are like, they shouldn't be able to vote. They shouldn't be able to vote. If you come to America, right, from another country, you do not get the right to vote at any point in your life, right? If we do that, we remove the incentive for Democrats to bring in third world immigrants who don't necessarily know what's going on. They don't necessarily speak English perfectly, but the Democrats have this big network created to indoctrinate them into like left-wing voting, to convince them Republicans are racist, vote for Democrats. All right, let's keep reading here. The dysfunction in America, something that did not even exist, something that did not exist after World War II. Failed schools, high crime, urban decay, overcrowded hospitals, housing shortages, and large deficits, etc. As an example, hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded government of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing. I love it. I love it. Either through fear, incompetence, or both, while the worst congressman / congresswoman in our country, woman in our country, Ilhan Omar, always wrapped in her swaddling hijab, and who probably came to the U.S. illegally, in that you are not allowed to marry your brother, does nothing but hatefully complain about our country, its constitution, and how badly she is treated when her place of origin is a decadent, backward, and crime-ridden nation, which is essentially not even a country for a lack of government, military, police, schools, etc. Even as we have progressed technologically, immigration policy has eroded those gains and living conditions for many. I will permanently pause migration from all third world countries to allow the U.S. system to fully recover, terminate all of the millions of Biden illegal admissions, including those signed by Sleepy Joe's auto pen, and remove anyone who is not a net asset to the United States. Whew, I love this. Or is incapable of loving our country, end all federal benefits and subsidies to non-citizens of our country, exactly what I just said. Denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national who is a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. I love how this guy thinks. I just love how he thinks. These goals will be pursued with the aim of achieving a major reduction in illegal and disruptive populations, including those admitted through unauthorized and illegal auto pen approval process. Only reverse migration can fully restore this situation. Other than that, happy Thanksgiving to all, except those that hate, steal, murder, and destroy everything that America stands for. You won't be here for long. I mean, how can you not love Donald Trump? So now here's the thing about Donald Trump that I think leftists don't really understand. He loves America. Whether you love Donald Trump or hate Donald Trump, you have to acknowledge that. I mean, you have to acknowledge that. Oh, man. Okay, let's have a look here at the last thing that I've got. Okay, this is kind of a fun one. But let me just say real quick, I'm doing this video about the Somalians, and I will talk about this and how Trump even doubled down recently on Air Force One, calling Tim Walz the R word.
The experiment making headlines by the
Let's have a
chain
look at this one.
Payless
This one's quite a bit
Shoes.
of
They
fun
held
here.
a grand opening of a luxury store with a different name but the same shoes, and charged hundreds more for those same shoes. Customers paid. Here's ABC's Kana Whitworth.
Behold, Palessi.
We built a fake luxury store in Los Angeles and filled it with Payless shoes. The guests at our grand opening party had no idea.
Guests invited to check out what looked like a luxury shoe shop.
They're elegant, sophisticated.
I just think it's so classy.
And I could tell it was made with high quality material.
A $35 shoe going for $645, an 1,800% markup. Store owners sat on their heels as fashion influencers emptied their wallets.
I would pay $400, $500. Yeah, people are gonna be like, where'd you get those? Those are amazing.
Then they're let in on the prank.
These are actually from Payless.
You've got to be kidding me.
Shut up. Are you serious?
But those shoppers were refunded their money and they got to keep the shoes.
David, Payless calling it a provocative social experiment designed to challenge today's image-conscious culture. Either way, it was an effective PR stunt.
Yeah.
David.
Clearly a marketing ploy, but they paid. Kana, thank you.
I love that. I just love that. I just thought that was like the funniest thing. Such a smart idea. Yeah, like it's a PR stunt for them, obviously, but it does kind of like expose how people can be tricked so easily. Like, look, this is super expensive. That must mean it's quality. And I feel like this is exactly how leftists perceive American politics, right? Like, if you have somebody that's shiny and polished, you think that you think that they're like fantastic, but that's not always true, right? Like Obama was pretty good at speaking. He had these massive rallies and people loved him because he was a smooth talker. But he had terrible ideas, you know, and he was a terrible president. But people still love him to this day. They look back and they're like, oh, he's amazing, he's amazing. People like the gloss. People on the left, they like the gloss. I do have one more thing, but I have to create the, let's see here. Image. Yeah, I'm gonna call it image. We're gonna go ahead and browse. We're gonna find the image. Let's see here. And then this is something I should have done before I set up the live stream, obviously. But, you know, whatever. We'll get there. We'll get it done. Let's see here. So this is going to be called this is going to be called Racist Meme of the Day. Let's see here. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn that off for now. At some point, I'll talk about it, but let's turn that off for now. And yeah, let's talk about the racist meme of the day. So I have a little musical thing to play first. Okay, so that's that's my little racist meme of the day. I don't know what you'd call it, interstitial? Anyway, but let's have a look at this one. So this is beautiful. So this is an old meme that has existed for a very long time, and I absolutely love it. And this is called Me Saving Refugees. And he says, nice try, gives him a high five, watches him drown, and then goes and washes his hands. So the new bit of this was the hand washing, and this almost killed me. I was crying, laughing, looking at this meme. Because I often wash my hands after shaking people's hands because I find most people to be disgusting. So the idea, and of course the reason it's funny is because it's horrifically cruel and ruthless, and more or less evil, I would say. But that's why it's funny. That's why it's funny. I have often said on my show that I believe we need to bring back racist jokes. And the reason I say we need to bring back racist jokes is because that kind of humor lightens people up a little bit. Everybody is so, I don't know what the word is. Everybody's so hypersensitive to everything these days. And I think the world would be a better place if we could all just laugh at ourselves a little bit and have a little fun. Anyway, I think I'm going to end it there. The chat has disappeared for me for some reason. Oh, there we go. We're back on. All right. Stinger. Yeah, it might be called a stinger. That's pretty good. I like that. So anyway, I'm going to throw that in there. Every day, I'm going to try to do these. Hopefully, within the next couple of days, I'll figure out the audio so it won't be so horrible. But hopefully you guys like this. If you have any suggestions, go on X, send me a private message, and yeah, hopefully next time the show will actually be good. Until then, nobody sent me a super chat with a closer. I was going to do this little thing where whoever sends me the most money in a super chat, I go ahead and end the show with whatever they want me to say, but nobody sent me anything. So instead of that, I'm just going to use my normal closing. I'm going to say, remember, as Reagan told us, it is not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much. That is not so. Hopefully you guys like the show, and hopefully tomorrow it's better. Yes, that's true. Jesus saved me. Elizabeth for Truth, you did send me a super chat. Thank you. Thank you to the 2 people who sent me super chats. Love you guys, and we'll solve all the technical issues, and hopefully tomorrow is a better